Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, before we get started, if you could give me a like, share, thumbs up, comment, all that other good stuff, I would appreciate it. So we're actually going to get right into the Lindsay Clancy trial. There's pretty much to go over from yesterday. The recap got up pretty late last night, and I was dealing with some personal stuff, so I did not get it up last night. I was hoping to. So we will do that first thing this morning. From what I understand, possibly next week the jury will get it. So something to look forward to and see what the verdict is. So here we go. We're going to get right into it. I have two things from Reddit, and then there's one thing that I wanted to share from Facebook. One of the pages that I follow put this on, and I thought it was just an interesting take on it. And again, you can take it with a grain of salt or take it to heart. So let's get into it. So before uh, the trial even started, there was public support gathering outside the courthouse early morning. Supporters expressed solidarity for Lindsay and criticize healthcare system. Police instruct crowd no yelling and no swearing. Attorney Reddington briefly addresses supporters. Court convenes approximately 2:29 p.m. Judge Sullivan conducts jury impartiality questions. Judge advises short day due to unrelated issue, and jury instructed not to speculate and not to attribute delay to either party. So the witness is Sheila Kavanaugh. They were called by the defense, and then she was cross-examined, redirect, and then recross. So there was a lot going on with this witness. So her name is Sheila Kavanaugh. Residence, Belmont, Massachusetts. Occupation, board-certified chaplain at Brigham's and Women's Hospital. Her prior career, senior VP of Fidelity Investments for 16 years. And her family life, she's married and has 4 adopted children. The direct examination, her first contact with Lindsay was January 25th, 2023, Unit 8C. Unit heavily staffed with law enforcement and hospital security. Lindsay intubated, neck brace, bandages, tubes, quote-unquote medical armor. The second visit was January 26th. Lindsay was still intubated. The third visit was January 31st. Extubated, able to speak. Lindsay's first statement on January 31st. Quote unquote, I am so glad my children are safe. Lindsay reported hearing a persistent male voice telling her that if she did not follow its command, neither she nor her children would be safe. Voice references recurred in multiple visits. And then her transfers. Late February, she went to Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital. Late March, early April, she was discharged, and then Tewksbury State Hospital. The chaplain visited Lindsay approximately 200 times at Tewksbury. And quote unquote, Lindsay talks frequently about her children. She loves them deeply. And then the cross-examination from the Commonwealth clarifies January 25th presence of officers due to search warrant execution. The chaplain was unaware. After January 25th, only 2 officers stationed outside Lindsay's room. The Commonwealth confirms chaplain did not document voice statements in Brigham notes. Commonwealth reads multiple Brigham notes. February 6th, fear of not being able to walk again. February 9th, visibly engaged, energized, and hopeful. February 13th, she felt deserving of this. February 16th, uplifted, about Spalding discharge playing cards with her mother. The chaplain did not document yellow exercise band use and Social Security disability paperwork discussions. And then the redirect from the defense. Chaplain explains distinction between privileged communication and observable feelings. Chaplain states some quoted phrases reflect her perception, not Lindsay's verbatim words. And then the recross from the Commonwealth confirms chaplain does sometimes quote patients' words directly. And then the exhibit that was admitted were the Brigham and Women's Chaplain notes. And then that was actually, the jury was dismissed until 9 o'clock this morning. And then there were some issues that went on after the jury was released. So the Commonwealth had requests. Opinion testimony, prior consistent statements, redactions on death certificates, stipulations, consciousness of guilt, first-degree murder is deliberate premeditation plus extreme cruelty, second-degree murder. They say she's criminal responsible without intoxication instruction. The Commonwealth argues no evidence of intoxication on January 24th, 2023. Prescription medications were low dose, effects not shown, and drugs taken after killings were low level. The judge inquiry. Judge asked for definition of intoxication applicable to homicide instructions. The Commonwealth states intoxication requires excess use affecting ability to think or act. And then the defense request. Defense asserts involuntary intoxication instruction required. Basis. Overprescription, side effects, titration, cessation of medications. The defense requests lack of criminal responsibility instruction, involuntary manslaughter as lesser included offense, wanton conduct with intoxication component, and no chalk/checklist for first-degree elements. And then the Commonwealth response argues involuntary manslaughter does not apply due to specific intent, argues medications prior to McLean irrelevant, out of system for 3 weeks, and relevant analysis limited to medications taken January 24th, 2023. And then the judge notes, the judge states general practice is not to use element checklist. Judge will provide jurors with full written instructions, rough draft of instructions to be provided next day. And then the scheduling, Dr. Resnick is expected this morning. Commonwealth witnesses to follow, closings likely Monday or Tuesday. And this was just something that they put up about the public coverage. Media commentary and crowd reactions appear in transcript but are not part of evidence. And then the summary. One witness testified, which was Sheila Kavanaugh, chaplain. Testimony covered Lindsay's physical condition, early statements, reported male voice, grief, and chaplain's extensive visitation history. The Commonwealth challenged absence of voice documentation in medical notes. Defense emphasized privileged communication and medication-related mental state. Charge conference addresses intoxication instructions, lesser offenses, and jury instruction format. Court recessed early. Next day scheduled for Dr. Resnick and Commonwealth rebuttal. So, Dr. Resnick, who will go on today, he is a defense expert. He's a forensic psychiatric and nationally recognized filicide expert. And his specialty is postpartum psychosis. And he also participated in the Andrea Yates high-profile case, if you were following that. So that was actually pretty good. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to go over, it was actually in the Reddit comments, and it's somebody who actually experienced psychosis. So I just wanted to read that to you. It says, I feel like people frequently say, if a voice was telling me to kill my kids, I would tell a doctor. To someone who is mentally healthy, that feels like a no-brainer. However, as someone who has experienced psychosis as part of a bipolar mixed episode and who has lived with the stigma of severe mental illness for decades, I can understand exactly why Lindsay would have those terrible thoughts and withhold that information. In my depressed headspace, in the midst of what I learned was a mixed episode, I began to believe that my suffering was divine punishment for some reason. It evolved into a religious delusion that I was being punished for being an evil person. Why was I evil? Couldn't tell you, I just was. And it became such that my suffering was so great that I was obviously Lucifer to deserve such punishment. Did I tell anyone that I knew I was Lucifer? Of course not, because I knew people would look at me like I was fucking insane and would probably lock me up in some terrible institution. I realized how crazy it sounded, but that didn't stop me from believing it was the truth. When you've been ill for a long time and it takes a turn for the worse, you don't question your thoughts. And since you don't talk about them with other people, there's no one to push back on these beliefs. So you believe it's normal and just part of who you are, rather than your brain malfunctioning. Fortunately, I was always much more of a risk to myself than a danger to anyone else, but I have never told a soul this information before because of the stigma and shame. And at that time, I was paranoid, so there's no way I was volunteering that information to an acquaintance like a doctor or therapist. The voice told me not to talk to anyone about it because they wouldn't understand and couldn't fix it anyway. She was also aware that she could lose her job and license and can't work with babies. Her husband might leave her, potentially lose custody of her kids. It's not easy to share dark thoughts at all. If I was having thoughts of hurting others, I'd hope I'd be lucid enough to recognize and brave enough to share with someone who could help. I'm on medications and doing well now, so I would recognize it as a red flag, but when you're already deeply mentally ill, your insight into your own condition lessens. I don't know how doctors can make patients feel safe enough to be honest with them. All right, and the last thing that I wanted to read to you, this is actually on Facebook, and it is under the page She is Fire, and I thought this was a pretty good read as well. It says, the Lindsay Clancy case is forcing people to confront a nuance that is psychological and cursive abuse. Even though abuse is kind of like embedded within our culture, because we live in a society, especially if you are religious, like you're not going to perceive these things because you've been fed the lie that it's like the woman's job to hold it all. It's the woman's job to do all this stuff. What do men do? They provide. They provide. And even if you're a woman who is also working full time, you're still expected to hold all of this shit. We ask women too much to hold, and then when they ask for help, even if they do it all in the right ways, the help is not set up for us. No one knows what we're talking about. We're just told, like, oh, just get some rest, or lose some weight, or it's just anxiety, just work on your self care, without addressing the fact that, why am I so tired? Why am I so tired? Is it because that not only do I have two children at home, but also a man child who refuses to participate in anything and actually makes it harder for me to manage things? Because if I don't clear it with him first, then oh my God, is he even the head of the household anymore? There. Abuse is not just something that you can see on the outside. Abuse is what's happening on the inside as well. If you're in an abusive situation, it's not that I was explicitly told don't ever get dressed up and don't ever make yourself look pretty. But after being told over and over again, why are you getting so dressed up for? Who are you getting so dressed up for? Why are you looking like that? Why do you want someone else's attention? I don't understand why you're doing that. You're going to feel weird, then you're going to get dressed up because in your head, all you're hearing is the accusations that you're going to have to defend yourself against just because you put on some makeup. If you do get noticed, that's used as evidence of, see, you like that attention. I knew you were trying to get it. Why are you wanting attention from other guys? That's abuse. It's shocking how much people don't want you to fucking talk about it. I think that was pretty much to the point. And a good read, when you think about abuse and just the things that women and some men, women can be assholes too. But in this case, we'll stick with the women here. But it's amazing how much is put on a woman, and yet we still keep going, right, guys? Ugh. Anyway, if I did not wish you a happy Friday, everyone. What's everybody doing for the weekend? I hope everybody has some good plans and some fun. I think that's needed. Um, and hopefully we'll get some good weather for once over the weekend. So, all right, we will talk later. We will try to get the Lindsay Clancy trial up once it stops for the day, whatever time that may be, I don't know. If not, we'll get it up tomorrow. And then over the weekend, we're going to go back to our regular pod and kind of connect and kind of get with everybody and see what is going on. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. We will talk soon. Have a good day. Bye.